Cesette Abigail Herrera Juarez was born in 1996 in Mexico. There is not much information about her personal life, but society described her as a happy, loved, and respected by her family, especially her father, Oscar Herrera. At the age of 21, she met a man named Luis Alfonso Alvarez Lopez, 31, also from Mexico. Although there is no information on how they met, it is known that after some time they decided to move in together and lived in an apartment located in Building 27 on Paseo de la Reforma in the Tabacalera colony in the Cuauhtémoc district of Mexico City, where he worked as a building administrator. There is also not extensive information about Luis Alfonso. His childhood and family are unknown. However, it is known that he had an extensive history of fraud, especially among women from whom he took money by deception. Although he was very attractive to some, his forte was not socializing with women, but rather he was an expert manipulator, making up sad stories about his family, causing them to take pity and give him what he wanted. From one young girl, he managed to take away 100,000 pesos, which is about $6,000. He told this girl that his brother had allegedly been kidnapped and he needed the money for ransom. Another of his friends was tricked into believing that he wanted to marry her and asked for money to buy an apartment where they were supposedly to live together. Obviously, nothing of the sort happened. Although the girl gave him the money, the man never purchased the apartment and simply disappeared with the young woman's savings, and the wedding never took place, although she even had a wedding ring. But the biggest fraud of Alfonso, as we will call him further on, was when he faked his death 3 times. Because of these events, he was given the nickname Fraud Lord. All of this happened in 2016. The first time was on May 19th of that year, when he circulated his photo as one of the victims of the Egypt Air Flight 804 crash. The second alleged death of Alfonso was on June 12th of the same year, during an attack by armed groups at a nightclub called Pulse in Orlando, Florida, USA. His picture appeared in a New York Times video clip as one of the alleged victims of the attack. The third event occurred 20 days apart on June 28, 2016, when another user shared a photo of the young man on social media, claiming to be his brother who went missing after the attack at Istanbul airport in Turkey. After these events, his image began circulating in the international media and went viral on social media. A few days after this latest alleged death of Alfonso, the French media started investigating what was happening. They were interested in the fact that this man's picture appeared 3 times in 3 tragic events and wanted to know if he was posting them himself or someone else. They found out that it wasn't actually Alfonso posting his picture, but other people to whom he owed money and didn't want to pay it back. They claimed that he was a scammer and thus tried to damage his reputation and make everyone think he was a liar. The French media was also able to contact these people, and one of them explained how they deceived everyone. On May 19th, when the Egypt airplane disappeared in the Mediterranean Sea, a user on a well-known social network posted a picture of Alfonso, indicating that it was his brother and that he was on board the plane. This information somehow got to the BBC, and they published it as fact. But the next day, after realizing the mistake and checking the passenger list, they denied his death. According to one of the victims of Alfonso's scam, she sued him for fraud, but he didn't return the money, so she decided to publish his picture so everyone could see his face and know he was a scammer. Regarding the attack at a nightclub in Orlando, the prestigious newspaper corrected a video showing that Alfonso was one of the victims. Reporting the alleged defamation against him, a French television station was able to contact Alfonso to have him defend himself. In an interview with French media, Alfonso did not deny that he had open fraud cases in Mexico, but simply said that he did not sue these people who had posted his picture because the news was virtually irrelevant in Mexico, and it did not bother him in any way. This all went away, and for weeks there was a discussion on social media about online harassment, how to take pictures of people, and where privacy ends when pictures are posted. Many arguments arose and it was discussed for days and weeks, but with time it all went away. Alfonso's image became forgotten as just another meme on the internet. With these stories, he was able to win Cesette over, seducing her like the other women and convincing her to move in with him where he worked. She was thrilled. It was her first experience of living together with a man, and she felt happy, thinking that Alfonso would eventually become her partner for life. But apparently that wasn't the case. Things went smoothly in the beginning, but as time went on, Alfonso began to show his true colors. He didn't want Saisei to have any friends. She couldn't have any contact with her relatives or co-workers. He forbade her from working, kept her a prisoner at home, and the only thing she could do was to help him with some administrative things in the building. But after that, she had no contact with anyone else. This led to daily conflicts between the two, which eventually escalated into physical violence on the part of Alfonso towards Saisei. It ended with a tragic outcome. On Friday, September 18th, 2020, the girl spoke to her parents for the last time, promising to see them for lunch on Sunday, September 20th, but she never showed up. After seeing that the girl was a no-show and not responding to calls and texts, the parents called Alfonso, and he said he didn't know where she was. He explained that they had a fight because he had gone to his mother's house in Toluca and did not take her with him. Even when relatives arrived at Alfonso's house, he revealed that she was not there. At first, Saisei's parents believed Alfonso because it was common for them that she told them about her frequent quarrels with him. But it seemed very strange to them that she left without saying anything to anyone. Also, they couldn't get through to her, and their calls went straight to voicemail. As time went on, it became clear to them that her phone was turned off. They began looking for her among friends and co-workers from her previous job. They asked anyone who might know her, posted her picture on social media, and asked for information from anyone who could help find her. Unfortunately, these searches were not successful. It seemed that the girl had disappeared without a trace. So they decided to turn to the law enforcement authorities. When Alfonso learned that the parents would file a complaint, he did not object, but refused to accompany the girl's parents, citing the fact that he had to take his dog to the veterinarian. This behavior of the man confused his mother-in-law, as she could not understand why he was so indifferent to the disappearance of the woman he claimed to love, and they weren't the only ones who began to suspect him. When questioned by the police, he claimed that he was in Toluca at his mother's house at the time, and despite the fact that he had an alibi, the police were interested in the fact that he never showed concern about his woman's disappearance. The Attorney General's office issued a search warrant for her on September 25, 2020, and along with the girl's relatives, they searched hospitals and morgues for her for 3 weeks. Investigators found themselves at an impasse, so they decided to return to the building where the girl lived and conduct a more thorough search. Finally, after looking through several apartments, the search ended on October 9th with a result no one wanted to see. On that day, Saisei's body was found wrapped in sheets in the very building where she lived with her partner, in apartment hash 1006. At first glance, there were no signs of a struggle in the room, nor was there any blood or signs of a fight. But upon further examination using luminol, it became clear that this was a crime scene. They found that numerous bloody stains had been erased. They also found a trail, apparently also obliterated, leading from the main room to the apartment's bathroom. Police officers began to hypothesize that Saisei's body had been dragged from room to room. In addition, a rather large pool of blood was found, which had obviously been wiped away like everything else. Based on this, a murder investigation began. Saisei's body was taken to a forensic medical facility to have all the tests done and to determine the cause of her death. Although it was possible to see that she had various blows all over her body, and they were inflicted with great brutality, it was determined that the cause of death was mechanical strangulation. Apparently, Alfonso became the prime suspect in this case, as he was the last person to see Saisei alive. He had every reason to hide the body in the building, as he had access to the apartment, and besides, they had a very stormy relationship. The police started investigating other apartments in this building, including the one where this man lived with Saisei, and there they found some of the girl's belongings. But he was also found to be in possession of a large amount of illegal substances. Alfonso had 50 bags of illegal substances and 11 bank and departmental cards in the house. DNA tests and fingerprints were also taken to see if he was in the apartment where the body was found. The suspicions of the authorities and the girl's relatives were confirmed after DNA tests were obtained from the crime scene, which confirmed that both Saisei and Alfonso's DNA were there. In addition, his fingerprints were also on the girl's body and at the crime scene. The Mexico City Women's Homicide Investigation Office requested an arrest warrant for the man, who by then was already in jail for the banned substances found in his possession. At the hearing on the banned substances, Judge Yolanda Rangel granted the suspect's freedom with the condition that he appear every 15 days and on his own recognizance. During this hearing, the Investigative Office for Murder of Women requested an arrest warrant, which was issued by Judge Hector Fernando Rojas Pacheco. After that hearing, police officers complied with the order, and Alfonso, 34, was again sent to jail, this time to the East Detention Center, where he was to be held pending a court hearing and further arraignment for the murder of Say. Although the hearing had to be rescheduled due to the man's health problems, he was finally charged with murder on November 8th. The court acknowledged all the evidence provided by the prosecutor's office that linked him to the crime and confirmed his pretrial detention as an official precautionary measure. In addition, 2.5 months were set to complete the additional investigation. This news was publicized by various sources, and his past as a fraud lord began to surface. Many people recalled the man's picture from the tragic events that arose around him. Therefore, many acquaintances began to come forward with what they knew about him. One such person was his ex-girlfriend, who introduced herself only by the name Anna. In front of the media, the girl said that they met in 2010 through the internet, but did not physically meet until 2012. She said that she had witnessed on numerous occasions all the fraudulent schemes that the man had arranged for various people. She said that thanks to these schemes, he could afford a luxury apartment and a luxury car, and was proud of his money in front of his friends. He wanted to enter the circle of high-income people, but he was despised because of his lack of money, but this was the only way he could socialize with them. She said he had been running scams since he was 18 and said he told her at the time that he used to post ads for cell phones on the internet, get people to pay, and then just not send the goods. He said it started out as a joke, but eventually became his lifestyle. She said he scammed a huge number of people and had several ways of doing it. Alfonso told the girl that his father had died and he had inherited a valve company, but she obviously recognized that was a lie. She also confirmed that she had seen his phone once, and there were conversations with a lot of different people calling him different names. She also said that he had a tendency to abuse animals, especially attaching missiles to cats and setting dogs on fire. She claimed that Alfonso had lived in her home for a while after plastic surgery, and so her dog named Bruno was often with him. She stated that at various times when she returned home, she saw her dog frightened and limping. On one occasion, she noticed that her pet had peed the bed, which he had never done before. She also noticed that he was unable to move and was breathing with difficulty. She saw that his back leg was broken and immediately suspected Alfonso, but he denied that he had hurt the dog's leg. The vet confirmed to the girl that the dog had an injury caused by the beating. In her opinion, it was animal abuse that led him to abuse people. She claimed that during their time together, she had begun to suspect Alfonso's signs of psychopathy, so she had no doubt that he was responsible for Say's death. She even wrote an almost detailed description of how the events might have happened. Even though the authorities had all the evidence they needed to prove that Alfonso killed Say, the girl's family and friends had to wait about 3 years for justice to be served. The man's legal team used various legal tricks to delay the process as much as possible. To this was added all the restrictions due to the world epidemic. All this time, the girl's parents did not sit idly by and participated in various rallies, demanding justice, and she finally triumphed on April 28, 2023, when the Supreme Court of Mexico found him guilty. The Mexican Supreme Court found Luis Alfonso Alvarez Lopez, 37, guilty of the murder of young Say Abigail, sentencing him to 39 years, 4 months, and 15 days in prison. Despite the fact that the defendant received the minimum sentence of 39 years when the maximum was 70, the victim's parents felt satisfied. This case highlighted the role of social media in modern life. While they are a useful tool for many purposes, they can also lead to negative consequences due to a lack of control and restrictions on the content posted. In Alfonso's case, reputable publications such as the BBC and the New York Times published information about his death 3 times based on false information. Although they later corrected their stories, at the time of publication, they assumed much without properly investigating. It's also worth questioning the actions of the authorities, since at the time, they didn't thoroughly check the criminal record of Alfonso, who was apparently already a potential criminal. And when they finally uncovered him, it was too late for Say. In the end, this case only got justice after a long time, and the perpetrator is now in jail, which is probably the best option since he is a danger to society.